Chief Master Instructor Kenny Smith, Total Force Training Group. I'm going to talk about a subject that some people will be into, some people won't. Some people have to deal with this stuff. Oh boy. Alright, first thing we're going to talk about is body armor. I would show you the difference between overt and covert types and all that, but my overt armor stinks. I run in it, and it royally smells. That's why it's not out here in the shop. Matter of fact, the armor inserts are hanging above the dryer, and the carrier itself is stretched out on top of it. So it absolutely stinks. So I'm going to work on my consumable carrier here. Plate-wise, some have plate pockets up front. Some have trauma-only plates in the back. I mark my carriers mainly because I have a medical allergy. I'm allergic to penicillin, so mine get last name, initials, medical allergy, and my blood type. I would highly suggest you all doing the same. Why? Because if you need body armor, you've probably been hit, and if you've been hit, you're most likely receiving medical attention at some point. Personally, I think everybody should have a set of this stuff. Even if it's just the concealable. For several reasons. Number one is if you're doing dry fire at the house with your pistol, you got you a nice nifty backstop right here. I mean, this makes a good backstop. It stops bullets. It's 2 layers of 3A. It'll stop just about most any pistol round you want to shoot at. Put some plates in there. I mean, it's an expensive fuck up, but it's better than going through your wall and hitting your kid or something like that. Anyway, where do you want it to ride? There's some debate on this. I know some police departments will mandate it be cut down up here at the front, and that's fine because it does show. You'll see a little line right up there unless you button. This is an ICE proper polo. It actually fits better when I have that on underneath it. But some shirts show it worse than others. But if you don't want that cut, that's fine. What you don't want at all, number one, is bad Velcro or bad elastic. I've had that happen. You don't want it riding way down here. Why? Because your heart is pretty much centered in your chest. So if I'm wearing this way down here, yes, it protects all my soft stuff, but it does not protect the furnace. It doesn't protect the engine, right? You want it up in here. An inch or two up here is fine, but you want it up high. Some people like theirs to ride tighter than others. I like mine riding tight, but a lot of that has to do with carrying appendix. If the armor's got slag, it's easier to screw up my draw. For the record, there is no cameraman there. That is propped up, and this gun is loaded. Alright, you can see I get a little bit of a snag right there, which is fine. If I wear the armor tight to my body, move those over about an inch or two there, and that doesn't happen. Okay? So, you want it to ride tight if you have anything on your belt. Now, if you're wearing heavy plates and stuff like that, anything on your belt, like your pistol, that's important to get to, you're going to want it to ride low. Okay? And the reason for that is, like we saw with a little bit of this panel right there, snagging on your plate when transitioning could be a very bad day. Think of if you're under fire, your big gun goes down, you're going to transfer, and it won't come out because it's snagged on plate. So you might want something dropped a little lower for that. But your mileage may vary. When is concealable armor no longer concealable? When it's 3 inches thick. A friend of mine, and it's rather funny, he's a police officer, and he wears the concealable vest, obviously. Got a little bit of heartburn there. But anyway, he wears the concealable vest, and at one point he was wearing level 4 OD green ESAPs. Where he got them, I don't want to know. But anyway, he got them, and he was wearing them in there, and his vest was literally like 2.5, 3 inches thick. It was kind of funny because he was a little bitty dude, and it looked like he just put on like 30 pounds overnight. It was hysterical. But it shows. It's no longer concealable at that point. And what made that an issue is the department he works for doesn't use the twin belts. They use the wide duty belt going to the belt loops of the trousers. So he couldn't get to a lot of the shit on the front of his duty belt from the plate. Which, fortunately he went and bought some thinner plates. I think I got him to get velocities on. Anyway, he got some thinner ceramic plates and went on from there. Now, as far as plates go, I swear by Velocity Systems plates. I love Velocity Systems plates. We got a few of them. That's what I keep in my external carrier. I don't handle my ceramic plates if I don't have to, just because I'm clumsy and can break an anvil when I'm not trying. So those are in the house. There are a lot of people that like steel plates, and steel plates have their place. I wouldn't mind dealing with steel plates in a vehicle, like a thin AR-500, but know this with steel plates, they spall like you wouldn't believe. For those of y'all new to the party, spall is when a bullet hits something more solid than the bullet itself. Remember, most rifle projectiles are made out of copper and lead. Some have a steel penetrator, some have some other metals in there, but most of them are still copper and lead. So when they hit something harder than it, they go in a bajillion pieces everywhere. If you watch some of the videos by some of the competition shooters and stuff like that, where they shoot steel targets, you can actually see them bursting into pieces. With frangible bullets, that's supposed to happen, but it does happen with military hardball and the like as well. So you have to keep that in mind when you're wearing steel plates. If you wear steel plates for some reason, that bullet's got to go somewhere. Now, I know there's a few companies that are coating the plates up with Line-X and making them pretty thick. Where the steel plates shine is if you ain't got a lot of dough. Personally, I know you can get the AR-500 plates for decked out. I think you can get them for right at $100 a pop, somewhere in there. It's all well and good if you can't afford the $200 to get front and back plates, but I would rather save up the extra money and get some good ceramics. Ceramic's lighter than steel. It's a bit more resilient. It doesn't spall as bad. I mean, all armor spalls, but ceramic doesn't spall really bad at all. Another good thing about the ceramic plates is with the steel plate, in the event you take a hit that is not of a caliber sufficient to penetrate it, it's going to leave a big, thick lump in there. And there are some people that, for one reason or another, wear steel plates and won't wear a soft armor. I've heard of that in a few places, and I've met some people that claim to do that. Funny thing, none of them ever served in the military or law enforcement, and it's like they're talking about plates, this, that, and the other. I'm like, dude, you're talking to a friggin' Marine. Yeah, I don't even know about plates. I've ran them, I've lugged them. We don't know about them. There's a reason ceramic plates are used now. And then they start talking about, well, this, that, and the other. And it's like, look, guy, seriously, if steel plates were the heat, most of my friends are in the special operations community around here, with the ones that aren't law enforcement. And a lot of that is, look where I live. So when I'm out in other places, and it's never around here, because people around here, the serious gun guys know who they are, and those are the ones I prefer the company of. The rest of them I usually leave alone. But gun guys could be gun gals as well. But anyway, up in other areas, and you typically, and you all know the type, I'm sure, but these guys are talking about, I wear steel plates, I don't need soft armor because this is rated at a higher level than soft armor, blah, 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 blah. Alright, well, when steel armor plates were the heat, alright, like the Ranger assault vest and stuff like that, and even those were ceramic if memory serves correct, soft armor behind it, namely the ballistic nylon in the early days, what all our holsters and shit are made of now, seems like. That's how it came to be. It was to be in between the armor plate, the steel armor plate, and the carrier, so that lump, because that steel is going to make a dent. It's going to make a pretty significant dent. That's why if you go to a range that has steel targets and shoot it with a bullet they don't like, they're going to be really pissed off at you, because it's either going to put a serious friggin' dent in there or go through it. And steel targets aren't cheap by no means, so at least good ones especially. Anyway. The same thing's going to happen to your plate. And if you've got that big lump in there and now you're running around with it until you can replace it, I would rather have a plate have degraded performance, because that steel one's already got degraded performance. Believe what you want. Metallurgy says when it's pushed and stressed, it's stressed around it, just like the cracks from a ceramic. Now, it's not as stressed as the cracks of a ceramic plate getting hit, but it is stressed nonetheless. So you're going to expect degraded performance in that area. And you can get multi-hit ceramic plates. It'll take 10 hits or more. Granted, it's spread out throughout the plate, but realistically, I've been shooting for a very, very long time, And the only time I've ever made bullets get so close together that it's closer, close enough for me to worry about the cracks in a plate is when I'm sitting there and very, very slowly taking my time. Now I understand that Bill Jordan said the objective of winning a gunfight was to take your time in a hurry, but the operative phrase was in a hurry. So, do you have to thread the needle twice? Not necessarily. Anybody who knows anything about combat accurate shooting will tell you, as long as you get close again, you're doing pretty good. If you're within 2 or 3 inches, it would say you're all right. So where you run into issues with the ceramic is when you're dealing with smaller threats. Stuff like pistols, very small caliber rifles, rimfires, 22 Hornets, things like low velocity rifles. They're gonna affect the plate. They won't affect the steel plate as much as the ceramic, but remember they spall, and now you've got those lumps, those in the rear of the plate, from where the strike face has been hit. So that's going to cause you an issue. If you're wearing soft armor behind you, it'll be attenuated or behind the plate, it'll be attenuated a bit, but nevertheless, it's going to be there. When it comes to armor selection, depending on overt or covert, it's very, very personal. What I look for is I don't wear soft armor that's not 3A. That's all I wear is 3A. These inserts in this vest are, these are old Pericles. Well, I've got some inserts for this vest that are point blank, which I think are actually made at the same factory now. But I'm not 100% positive on that, but I'm almost positive that Point Blank acquired Paraclete. I think they did. Don't quote me on that. I think I read something about that the other day. Anyway, I got one set marked Point Blank. That set's marked MSA Paraclete. But I like 3A soft armor. 2A soft armor is, probably the lowest I would absolutely go. When I bounced, I wore a 2A vest, but we had a gunfight in the parking lot. Well, I shouldn't necessarily call it a gunfight because they weren't, as far as I know, they weren't shooting back at each other. Anyway, we had shots fired in the parking lot where I was working at. So, yeah, the Aspen OC spray decided they needed to make a very, very quick comeback, and, I carried a little 20, the club owner didn't want me carrying healed, so I got a little 25 and tucked it down in my boot. But, I'm not going to confirm or deny whether, when I stopped taking my gun to the safe, well, I'm not going to confirm or deny whether or not it was in a Galco Sky Ops behind my right hip. But we're not going to go there. Anyway, I decided I needed something, and I think I had a 3A, hard trauma plate in there. When it comes to the plates for a concealable vest, I use the side sappy ceramic plates in the plate pocket, so I've got a little bit more ballistic protection. Trauma plates are just that. They're trauma plates. They aren't necessarily ballistic plates. Some of them are, some of them aren't. So keep that in mind when you're actually looking at plates. Make sure you're not, if it's a really, really low price, it's probably just a trauma plate, which that just means that, disperses some of the energy of the round impacting, which that's not necessarily a bad thing, but understand it doesn't increase the ballistic effect. Trauma pads are worn behind the armor. Ballistic plates are worn in front of the soft armor. The reason for that, if the trauma pad just takes a shot and the bullet goes all the way through it, there's nothing there for it to do its job. It's already been penetrated. That irks me when I see people do that. And the reason for that is because I only own one soft trauma pad, but I've seen a few that police officer friends of mine have. And the only one I've seen that didn't say placed behind soft armor, the tags had wore off of because it was really, really old. So, keep that in mind, that a trauma plate disperses trauma but may not add the ballistic effect. If it doesn't add the ballistic effect, put it behind the soft armor. Comfort. This is a personal issue because that depends on the cut of your armor, how your carrier is constructed. My big plate carrier has a padded shoulder straps. The one I've previously been running in, that I'm actually about to replace, is a larger, military OTV type vest. I got used to it when I was in the Marine Corps. One of my buddies sells surplus. I was like, hey, cool, I can use that. So I picked that up off of him, and that's different. I have the armor panel running through here. It's not very comfortable, but it works. Now, with the concealable, I don't like anything. I like the thin elastic just because I don't like a bulge up here that shows it. If you're wearing a suit jacket or something like that, you're generally okay. If you're a police officer in police uniform, you have the epaulet up here. That'll help break it up a little bit. But, you know, if you're just wearing soft clothes, then you typically don't want a thick shoulder strap. When it comes to securing at the front, you know, some people like the wider elastic bands. I could really go either way. It would make it a lot easier to have one band, but you can fit it and adjust it better. So, you know, if you just eat like me and your gut's a little swollen, you can play with it a little bit. Might be why I can't sleep. I made some awesome pasta Alfredo earlier. I had probably quarter of a cup or so left that I finished off earlier. I thought I wanted to give me a drink, and that's got to go. Anyway, I hadn't just eat. But, you know, you could play with that a little bit. Whatever it is, I would certainly, if it's an overt type armor, I would get patches or whatever with your blood type. If you have medical allergies like I do, you need that annotated on there. If you don't, NKDA, no known drug allergies, that's a good thing to put on there. You don't need 15,000 morale patches, but some of them are essential. I'm not going to get into IFF and glint and all that. But, you know, on your armor, think of if this armor is doing its job, that it's stopping rounds from entering my body, I'm probably going to wind up getting medical attention. If I'm smart, I'm definitely going to get medical attention. Tracking? So, you know, I'll mark mine just because I am deadly allergic to penicillin. So, yes, and I know there's going to be some jokes made about that, but, you know, some of us just use common sense. So, anyway, I got to. My general instructor told me to use the credit card swipe, and if it comes out burning, then don't play elsewhere. But anyway, I just figured that just got me thinking. Anyway, good memories. I sweated a lot after the first time I heard that. But, you know, like I said, I got my name, my allergies, and my blood type. The reason I have my name on there is because I've got a lot of friends that have these dark blue carriers. And one of them also has a penicillin allergy and the same blood type as me. I tell him I keep him around just because if something happens to him, I'm going to get a transfusion from him. He tells me the same thing. It seems good fun. But nevertheless, marking your armor is a good idea, especially if you're a police officer. And, you know, unless it belongs to the department. If you buy your own and, you know, you take it off in the locker room or something, in the event it gets dropped or whatever, it's easier to find and figure out whose is whose. But, you know, like with a concealable vest, you can tell where I use the actual fabric marker and where I use the magic marker. Magic marker didn't stay dark. Fabric marker actually stayed black. But yeah, you probably can't see that because my camera sucks and I only spend money on stuff that goes boom, has an engine, or is attached to my dog or something to do with my dog. But yeah, the armor is a very personal choice, but remember, you get what you pay for. So just because you can get a type of armor cheap doesn't necessarily mean it's great. I know a lot of people who have thought, yeah, I'm gonna play with this and get this until then, and I got a cheaper armor. I'm not gonna mention brand names of stuff that I'm about to call crap. But you know, they've got some of the cheaper armor carriers, and all of a sudden the plate backers didn't fit, or they couldn't find soft armor inserts to fit. Period. I actually saw one that the stitching was so horrible, a guy put an ESAP plate in that it was cut to fit. It fitted fine. And the first time he took a good step out of run, it ripped the bottom out. Now, that can happen to a good plate carrier as well, hot iron one. But I can tell you right now, my plate carrier, all right, my big plate carrier is MSA Paraclete. And if that happened with that, matter of fact, I actually had a shoulder strap that started fraying. Just from wear and tear, because you know when I got that thing, I wore it all the time to break it in. Just you know when I go rucking or whatever, just shoulder strap wear, and their only response was send it back, we'll fix it. No questions asked, send it back, we'll fix it. You pay the shipping. That's all it cost me. So I mean, problem solved. But you know this guy had this lower end carrier, and he called them, and they said, well, buy another one. Click, and hung up on me. So that told me all I need to know. Don't buy cheap shit and expect it to work like good shit. And then when you think, my dad's a big motorcycle rider, and he only wears Bell helmets. And he used to pay considerably more for his bell helmets than a lot of his friends riding motocross did. And he said something that stuck with me for a long time. He said one of their advertisements was, if you have a $10 head, buy a $10 helmet. If you think you may wind up in harm's way, which if you're following a training business on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus or just looking at my website or wherever the hell you see this, if you're looking at anything involving a training business, you either are preparing yourself in the event you find yourself in harm's way, or in a line of work where you may very well end up going into harm's way of your own accord, as opposed to it finding you. Then if that happens to you, then obviously you are thinking of taking that step of what happens if. Now, if that balloon goes up and you've got a pair of $100 plates with no backers and a $50 carrier, ask yourself, do I have a $260 life? I don't. My life's worth consider. Hell, you know, my life insurance is considered. You know, I pay more than that a month for life insurance. So, you know, that's no. You know, body armor. I have been told by a friend of mine that this was the cheapest life insurance I would ever buy. I disagree. This is like assurance. This is assurance. An ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure any day. And we all know that tactics dictate who gets hit and who doesn't. But Providence also plays a role in it. And if Providence has your stars lined up that you're going to eat a bullet today, ask yourself what you put into your body armor. If you're someone that wears it every day, is it comfortable? Is it durable? Ask yourself, do I trust my life to this plate? Do I trust my life to this soft armor? Look into the company that produced it. What's their testing look like? You know, do they actually shoot what they produce, and do they shoot so many plates or armor inserts out each lot? Some don't. So be very, very careful with buying armor. It's a very personal decision, and it's not one that should be taken lightly. The concealable vest is good because, you know, I actually hang this one. I put it on a hanger. I undo the elastic, and I rig a hanger. It's actually a very ghetto rig hanger, but it works underneath and through the backs of the armor, where the armor inserts go in, not hanging on the back of my door. So in the event someone comes in my house, my door is essentially covered. At least this much of it is. So, you know, I can take some form of cover behind that. Now, granted, I'm not totally covered, but it's better than nothing. Obviously, I can throw it on in the event I hear the bump in the night or whatever. If I'm traveling a long distance, you know, I've got a place to secure it in my vehicle that actually works too well because I thought I lost it. Yeah, that was scary. That's a couple $100 worth of inserts there. I think I give like $400 for those two inserts, so maybe a little bit more than that. I think it was around $400. It was either those or my point blanks that I paid $400 for. It's right at $400. It's like $390 something or a little bit over, somewhere in there, around $400. But anyway, yeah, when I think I've lost that much armor, I started getting worried. But anyway, you know, it's good to have. You can throw it on. Obviously, you know, when you're doing dry fire, you can hang it up on the wall, and you've just established your safe direction. Now, that is no substitute for, obviously, you don't want to do a dry fire. You know, and I'm not dry firing right now because my weapon is loaded. But assuming this wall right here, you know, I probably don't want to dry fire if my kids are through that wall. Okay, and again, this weapon is a fully conditioned one weapon, so there's no one over there, so I'm not worried about it. You know, in this instance, had I had an ND there, the only thing that would happen is I blew that tube before and oak tree back there to hell. But anyway. You know, you can hang that, and if you messed up and didn't fully clear out your weapon, you've established a safe direction that way. And obviously, you know, the needs of shit happens, throw it on and go. The fame shit hits the fan stuff as well. That's pretty much it on armor. I mean, you gotta make sure it's comfortable, you gotta make sure it's durable, and you're probably gonna pay a pretty good penny, but make sure you get the good stuff, because the bad stuff either is not gonna work the way it's supposed to, or it's just not going to hold up, and you'll wind up having to pay for it again. And after 2 or 3 times of buying the crap, you'll probably realize you could have bought the good stuff for the same amount of money that you put into it over the same period of time. Now, if you don't want to spend a lot of money and you want to get good, high-quality armor carriers, go hit up Shellback Tactical. Shellback Tactical has awesome armor carriers. I know quite a few people that use them, including some that use them downrange. And I have not yet heard any complaints about them. And you can get their plate carriers pretty good for pretty good prices. You know, the soft armor, you can actually order some of them with soft armor and have it there for, you know, a decent price. And, you know, obviously plates you're going to pay good money for. Velocity system, that's where it's at in plates right now. Really, the velocity is about the only plates I would look at, personally. If you have to go with steel plates for some reason, go to AR 500 Armor and look up their plates with Line-X, the double up Line-X coating. I've actually thought about getting some of those for this just because they're so damn thin. Which that's the other advantage of steel plates, is they're thinner than ceramic. But anyway, that's pretty much it on armor. Choose carefully, choose wisely. Stay frosty, stay in the fight.